Early Civilization Up to Culture and Arts in Asia by Carol Joy Morong. First is ancient art 30,000 before Christ era to 400 after that. Many different styles of art were created over this long period. They include those of prehistory, Paleolithic, Neolithic, the Bronze Age, etc., to the ancient civilizations of Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the nomadic tribes. Art was created to tell stories in a time when oral tradition prevailed. It was also used to decorate utilitarian objects like balls, pictures, and weapons. Next is medieval to early Renaissance art, 400 and 1400 after death. The art of this period can be considered relatively dark ages and dark as well. Medieval European art saw a transition from the Byzantine period to the early Christian period. Within that, from about 300 to 900, we also saw migration period art as Germanic people migrated across the continent. This barbarian art was portable by necessity, and much of it was understandably lost. As the millennium passed, more and more Christian and Catholic art appeared. The period centered around elaborate churches and artwork to adorn this architecture. Next is Renaissance to early modern art. So this period covers the years 1400 through 1880. Much of the notable art created during the Renaissance was Italian. It began with the famous 50th century artists like Brunelleschi and Donatello, who led to the work of Botticelli and Alberti. When the High Renaissance took over in the next century, we saw the work of Da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Raphael. By the 700s, Western art followed a series of styles. These movements included Rococo and Neoclassicism, and followed by Romanticism, Realism, and Impressionism, as well as many lesser-known styles. Next is modern art, 1880 to 1970. The Impressionists opened the floodgates on new paths to take, and individual artists such as Picasso and Duchamp were themselves responsible for creating multiple movements. The last 2 decades of the 1800s were filled with movements like Cloisonnism, Japonism, Neo-Impressionism, Symbolism, Impressionism, and Fauvism. There were also a number of schools and groups like the Logo Boys and the Heidelberg School, the Band Noire, Nubians, and the 10 American Painters. Next is contemporary arts in 1970s. Most people consider as the beginning of the contemporary art, and it continues to the present day. Most interestingly, either fewer movements are identifying themselves as such, or art history simply hasn't caught up yet with those that have. Still, there is a growing list of isms in the art world. The 70s saw postmodernism and agrarianism, along with a surge in feminist art, neo-conceptualism, and neo-expressionism. The 80s were filled with neo-geo, multiculturalism, and graffiti movement, as well as beat art and neo-pop. Next is art movements became less defined and somewhat unusual, almost as if people had run out of names. Net art, artifactoria, toyism, lowbrow, bitterism, and stackism are some of the styles of the decade. And though it's still new, the 21st century has its own tikism and